First thing I want to mention is I came across a fun little book called The Subtle Body Coloring Book. And it just came out by Cindy Dale. And this, along, if you've ever gotten the anatomy coloring book, if you wanted to learn about anatomy, it's a great way of learning it. It's literally a coloring book. And this, the Subtle Body Coloring Book, if you'd like to color, is a fun way of learning the chakras, the energy bodies, and it has all the Chinese medicine, all the different acupuncture meridians and major points in Chinese medicine. It also has reflexology in it. And if you're the sort of person that likes to learn in that way, it's a real nice little book. And you can get it on Amazon. It's not little. It's like an 8.5 by 11 size page, and it's a considerable size book. But it's cute. So it just has that little. It's a little light of appearance, but it's got a tremendous amount of information in it. Now, as you've heard from me before, there are so many perspectives on what our energy bodies consist of and how many different names there are for them and how many different chakra systems there are. And yet, even though there's all the different approaches, you can learn a lot from this book. So if you feel like doing that, it's a nice book. And I just have to make sure my sound is turned off on my computer here. There. Okay. So it seemed like people had a very big week this week based on last week's class and some of the comments. Would anyone like to add some more commentary to what they've been working with this week since last week's class?
Well, I think it feels refreshing not to be running away from my nervous system. Just to be with it feels really good, and it's very foreign feeling.
That's a great way of putting it, running away from. Great.
Mm-hmm.
How about anyone else?
I feel like on the one hand, I have looked back at, my history and kind of, like you were saying, kind of reframe everything, knowing now what I was dealing with at the time that I didn't understand, and I'm seeing some of the ways that I was trying to get my needs met, but I really had bad approaches to doing it, and that which haven't served me in the long run. So I was seeing some of that. But then the other thing that I found very helpful was that I started saying to myself, when I compare myself to other people and feel like I should be able to do what they can do or be the way that they can be, it's like I have a really good, solid reason that I can feel comfortable to say I can't. I shouldn't hold myself to that standard. I need to respect where I'm coming from and how I orient myself and what my needs are, and that's okay. And that was like such a weight off my shoulder.
Lovely to hear. Thank you. How about someone else?
This is Lauren. I was finally able to release a lot of shame that I had around not being the employee who would never call in sick, because there were lots and lots of times that I had to call in sick because I couldn't deal with what was going on at work. And, I've been beating myself up about that for decades. And I finally had a clearing on that.
Excellent. Any other releases of shame and self-blame? This is really important. If you get nothing else out of the class, if you can reframe your life. So go ahead. Who was the next person that was going to speak?
This is Wendy, and I was struggling with the idea of whether or not I'm even an empath because I'm very sensitive, but sometimes I feel like I'm a bull in the china shop. But this past week, we were on a road trip. In fact, we just got home with family, my sister, an old friend of mine who's each person not the easiest people to be with, and a place where I always felt I would take on denigrating myself in their presence. And I kept, like whoever the man was who was speaking earlier, I was able to remember to feel my own feelings and then Ron was with me and he would just say, just breathe or something. He would help me to just not take the bait. And so it was such a relief to be able to be with people and actually have a good time and not be running away.
Great. And we're going to talk about the bull in the china shop syndrome tonight too. Did anyone else relate to what Wendy just said about being the bull in the china shop?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hear a rousing yes.
Yes. Yes.
How many of us have lost it because we lost ourselves and we're just reflecting everything else around us? How many?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
Yes.
That was a joke.
So we're going to work with that tonight. How about one more person?
This is Renee. And I have to say, there's one of the stories that I've had about myself my entire life. It's been dissolving and falling in chunks to the ground about I was always the moody one and the angry one and the anxious one and the depressed one, and that I was, in terms of the medical model, really pathologized as being anxious and depressed. And I've still held on to that story and those beliefs about myself without really looking at how much I've picked up from my family of origin. And this is a revolution I feel I'm in. Mm-hmm. And I'm having more of a sense of what other people are going through who are empathic. And I've felt this real heavy, thick coat of shame starting to lighten. And I'm getting more clear about when I'm with clients how so much of what I'm feeling in a session and after sessions is stuff that my clients aim at me, stuff that I'm picking up, and I'm aware of how much I leave myself and I go on these missions to explore what's going on. And reconnecting, I think for the first time, at least with my home frequency, I've been asking to be placed in that frequency when I'm meditating, and I am blown away. I had no idea that this class would be so powerful.
One more enlightened therapist. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. It's I mean, it. We have to get the understanding in order to separate out empathic abilities and sensitivities from the other types of issues people have, because they intertwine and in kind of an endless loop sometimes. So I think that we're just on the forefront of bringing this forward and having it begin to be recognized. I mean, I remember telling a therapist that one of the clients she sent to me wasn't so empathic that she was identified as the pathological person in the family. And she had no clue what I was talking about, nor was she able to take that and use it. And it's not like we're trying to absolve the empathic person from any responsibility in what has happened in our lives. But in order to get out of that shame spiral, we have to understand what our nervous system is doing and how to work with it. Because it does. I mean, just like, is everyone still here? I want to make sure. I just heard a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This is going to be a bit of a journey, and we're going to take it step by step. And you won't believe where it's going to end up in terms of the multidimensionality of this. But we have to start at the very beginning here, and this piece of unraveling the shame and the self-blame is absolutely the most important piece. You can't move forward without it. Because if you're in a defense mode because of all this wounding built up, you won't be able to see the truth or see clearly ultimately, because that defense system will constantly engage. So you'll never get out of that spiral. So we have to get to the point where we understand, even though we haven't solved how to live with this quite yet, but beginning to understand it so that we can release the defense mechanism enough that we can begin to see clearly is the first major step. And we may not get beyond that step in this whole 6 weeks because it's a big chunk to chew off. But we'll see. And I'm starting to think that I probably will continue this class in the fall instead of the heart-centered living class. We'll keep this one going because there's enough material to go for the next couple of years on this. So it's, everyone in the class wonders if, let's see, I'm in the class, I'm surprised that I'm an empath, some of you. You're just finding out that you're empathic or highly sensitive. And so you're wondering, how could everyone in the class be an empath or highly sensitive? Probably, right? How did we all end up together? And a corollary to that is, if you're spiritually oriented, are you an empath or highly sensitive? And that doesn't hold up. But I would say that probably the topic pulled the empaths forward into this class, along with the fact that I'm highly empathic, and so I would probably gather other empaths around me as students. So everyone in the class is highly sensitive or an empath in some form. So let's just take that in. And now let's draw our energies back to ourselves. And by that, it means bring your attention back to your body, checking in that you have 2 feet, 2 knees, 2 hips, 2 elbows, 2 shoulders, 1 neck, and 1 head. Now, when I've done that before, some of you may have thought that was comical or not very useful. But if you're an empath, you will notice that those body parts may not be very clear for you. That some of them may be cloudy or a little hard to feel. And so when I check those off, I'm making sure that I have as much of my attention within myself as possible. And this is really important for an empath or a highly sensitive person. This is the way to become a self-soother of your own nervous system. If you're not present from head to toe, you're not going to have the ability to start calming down your nervous system. Parts of you will be kind of dangling out in the stratosphere, and you won't have the presence of being to begin soothing your nervous system. And it's literally either with your breath or grounding or light or relaxation. And it's noticing that your nervous system is on high alert, which is probably unique to each person here, that you have a way of identifying that or a way you feel when you are on high alert and your nervous system is overactive and in an alarm state. So we'll take a few moments to relax, ground, feel your seat and feet. And come back to a state of presence, being more calm. And you might want to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your buttocks. Just make sure you can feel your own body. And then when you can feel your own body, tune into your nervous system. How does one tune into your nervous system? So, every person will have a different feeling for this. For me, it's a little bit of a sense of jitteriness. It feels partially in my body and partially around my body, as if there was some static electricity around my field. My brain feels like it's a little dispersed. And there's some tension in my body. Can anyone else identify or speak about what their nervous system feels like? That would be out loud.
I have what you stated, Sarah, and I also have a pulsation that I can feel that's partially in my body and coming in and out of around my body. Mm-hmm. Like there's tension going, pressing against me, and then there's this flow coming from me.
Okay. Now, all the empaths in the group probably tuned in and felt what you were saying. So we have to come back to yourself, everyone. Did someone notice themselves reaching out to Kathy in a sensing way? Not one person.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally, but did you do it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure did. I identified with what she was saying as something that I was feeling, and then I went to her.
Right.
To what she was feeling.
Good. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Anyone else notice it? Did you notice what happened with your attention? Who's this?
Barbara. I went to what she was feeling too, and then I had a moment though where I realized that was outside of me, and I had to focus on grounding.
Okay, so that was Barbara continuing. Okay. Someone else.
This is Jane.
Mm-hmm.
I felt exactly what you were describing, and I can also see like a blue network of, I don't know, like neon energy.
Uh-huh. And so did you feel yourself reaching out to her, or did you stay in your own space?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're back on the reaching to Kathy. No, I did not reach out to her.
Okay.
I don't mean to be rude, but I was trying to sense what I was in my own sensation still.
And so you inadvertently saw what she was talking about from within your own being? Or you tried to see it?
No. I think I was so focused on feeling what I was feeling inside myself, but I wasn't really paying attention to what she was saying.
Okay. Did anyone else feel their attention go to Kathy?
This is Kim. I'm not sure, but this is what was going on. I was trying to understand what she was saying, and And then at one point I felt my energy go very tall. And that sort of put an alert out. Like, well, why did that just suddenly happen? So,
okay.
I felt I was a little bit more, a little cloudy, so I wasn't understanding exactly what she was saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. I felt that way too, a little bit cloudy.
Okay.
This is Wendy, and when she was talking about pulsating, I was wondering if that was the same thing I was feeling.
Okay.
But I don't know that I was feeling it from her.
No, you weren't. I can see that. Okay. Your being was within you. Okay. Anyone else?
This is Michelle, and I noticed it when you called us back into ourselves. So I felt more diffuse, and then I came back and felt more solid. So that's when I recognized that I wasn't completely present within myself, and it felt, my interpretation of that is that I was listening with my energy, not just my ears. So it kind of followed that. So that was a good lesson.
Good. Okay. So listening to me would imply staying put and receiving. I would say that your energy was reaching out to sense by touching. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Is everyone following what we're doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So, every time we go beyond our own body, our own field, and we connect with another person's field unconsciously, we will start feeling what the other person feels. This is what's happening with an empath. It's not just vibrating to another person. Let's say like a tuning fork. There's a part of you that reaches out and touches. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's just pause for a moment and come back. And check the 2 feet, 2 knees, 2 hips, 2 elbows, 2 shoulders, neck, and head. And begin to learn to settle into the comfort and safety of the location of your being. And the soothing sensation that your nervous system receives when you bring yourself back. we're actually playing with a concept that is familiar to you, but we haven't put a name to it. And that concept is that you are enough just as you are. That you don't have to reach out with your attention or your energy. You don't have to poke holes in your boundaries. In order to protect yourself, to prove anything to anyone. To impress someone. And we want to be able to find a place where breathing and sitting or standing or lying down is enough. This is the only way your nervous system will get a rest. So imagine your energy field around you, the different layers of it, and it's fully intact. It's like a playground for you. You get to enjoy yourself in a pleasant way. And really the description of it is pleasant. And you can allow yourself to ground. You can possibly have enough of yourself back that you start seeing the colors of your field or hear the sounds, or you feel in touch with your body more. But what you've been able to do is come within consciously, drawing your energy into a wholeness. And finding some equanimity. So, are there issues that come up that prevent you from being in this enjoyable state? If there are, I want to deal with them, so bring them up if you're sensing something. That's wonderful that each one of you has been able to find a comfort zone to return to. Is it fair to say that everyone has some reference point for that right now?
Yeah.
This is Cece. I have the reference point. It's just awkward because I don't feel like I can stay. I feel like I have to run. My energy feels like it wants to leak and go wherever it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And my container, I guess, isn't very strong yet.
Right. So this will come with practice. Are you grounding? Can you feel your feet in the ground?
Mm-hmm. I can,
okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So is this a new concept for you in a way, the way we're doing it tonight?
It's not a new concept, but the urgency to run or leak isn't as strong as it often is, but it's still there. The draw is there, but I'm more aware of what's going on now.
Thank you. Because I would say that's a very honest, clear look at what happens to us. So thank you for saying that. Very often when we draw ourselves in, we encounter this part of us that wants to just flee. And it can be a scary place. I've in the past felt like I could just die, or explode or scream, hear inner screams in that place. And there's multiple layers to this. And we'll get to them. And you'll each actually discover things about yourself in these states. So when you bring yourself back like this and start to calm yourself down, memories might arise, associations, metaphors, dreams, stories, all kinds of things. It all has meaning. It's all material that's been stored in your nervous system somehow. And very often we're afraid of what it has been stored there. And one of the reasons is that we're afraid is that empaths tend to feel things in a more magnified way. So what someone who isn't an empath, when they have an experience where they feel something, let's say it might be on a scale of 20, from 1 to 100, maybe they're feeling it at 20 or a 30, but an empath might feel it as an 80 or 90 or 100. But you have no way of knowing that what you're feeling is a magnified version of what someone else is feeling as a 10 or a 20. Following me so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when we have stored feelings that are that magnified, whether they've come in consciously or unconsciously through the body, from past lives or from transcendental experiences, we don't realize that there's a magnification that has gone on through the subtle nervous system and through the physical nervous system. And so what may appear overwhelmingly scary or fearful or something that you're ashamed of may not be as big as what your body is holding or your nervous system is actually holding it as. And so my student at Baldwin Wallace, who just keeps enlightening me, she was trying to figure out how to explain to the group that she's working with this summer, the group of students, what her experience is from inside her body. And she gave several examples, and none of them could relate to it. And then she landed on, what was that movie, Marley and Me? Did almost everyone here see that movie or know about it? About the dog?
I won't go watch movies where I know dogs aren't going to live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was her point.
No.
She said, life for her is watching a movie where you're so emotionally involved that you go through the movie as if it's your life. And you go through every drama in the movie as if it's you.
Doesn't everybody do that?
No.
I thought that was movies were made to do.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
But if you look at the movies and TV shows I watch, I mean, like Big Bang Theory is like as dramatic as I'll get.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And I will only go see a feel-good movie. I cannot watch a zombie movie, a scary movie, a tense movie, anything that has high drama. And then I watch Shauna, and she goes and watches. She just thinks that these scary movies are hysterical. Not everyone does that. But the point is that that's how life might feel to you. When it's not feeling like that to everyone else or to a large group of people. They can shrug it off, no big deal, blip, not a blip. And yet what you've stored or what you're holding in your body has been magnified multiple times over. Because of the nervous system, because of the sensitivity of the subtle nervous system too. We're just going to let that sink in. Are some of you feeling the light that's coming in now?
Mm-hmm.
you might feel it as an expansion, a soothing, different feelings, but the group consciousness is starting to shine brighter. There's a release going on, a clearing of the lower chakras. We're going to make a little bit of a dimensional leap here. So, why would we be so sensitive? What part of our nature orients us in that way? So this is where we start going kind of off planet and multidimensional, because we really are we come from places where the earth mentality is very foreign to us. Being a human can be very foreign. Coming from, and this may be coming from, it might be simultaneously living in another dimension which we've experienced many times in our meditations, where we enter the temple of light and we're all in a spiritual harmony that is beautiful and ecstatic, and we don't have to protect ourselves in that state. And when we carry that into the human form, and if it prevents us from seeing clearly the multifaceted nature of human beings, then we're kind of stuck between two worlds. Part of us is existing in that light-filled dimension, and part of us is existing in the human dimension. In the light-filled dimension, we don't need protection because we're in harmony, and our souls are in service to the oneness and the light. And yet the human part of us, the human being, has not evolved to that state. And we try to drag this earthly body into that state, or try to bring that state into the earthly body, which is part of spiritualizing the human experience. And yet we still need to be able to see clearly what's going on in the human dimension in which humanity exists at the time. And it's very difficult, just like you couldn't imagine that someone else doesn't feel the movie the same way you feel it. It's hard to imagine that someone else might be having a different human experience than you are. And it's difficult to see them clearly. And if we're not in our bodies with a collected presence, with our nervous system calmed down, we won't be able to see clearly, know clearly. I mean, I thought everyone would, once they had an experience of the light, would, just one experience of the light, I thought, well, they'll spend the rest of their lives trying to make that a reality for themselves permanently. That was, I just couldn't even conceive that someone wouldn't do that. I couldn't conceive that someone would purposefully harm someone. So we have these blinders, in a way, that prevent us from seeing clearly. And what happens is our energy field gets entangled and mixed up, and we get confused. And in that state of confusion, we can't know anything clearly. But when we bring our energy back to ourselves, then we have all these highly dramatic experiences stored in our nervous system that we don't know what to do with. And we need to be able to discharge them, clear them, face them, make peace with them, understand them. Just settle for a little bit here. So one of the exercises I use with myself is if I feel like I need to flee, like it's too hard to be within me, I say to myself, what part of me really wants to come out? What part of me that I have suppressed, deemed too scary to know? And I actually ask myself that and see what comes up. And many times, it's not a negative experience. Many times, it's I'm afraid of my light. I'm afraid of knowing who I am as a multidimensional being. I'm afraid of knowing my own wisdom and power, my own self-compassion and love. Because we were told to suppress that it's just our ego, that we need to feel special. That's something else. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something much deeper, that we may be fleeing from our light rather than something that we think is negative. We may be fleeing from seeing something in someone else that we don't want to see, which means we're fleeing from our clarity. Is it too hard to love someone knowing that they're not perfect? Is it too hard to love yourself knowing you're not perfect? If you allow yourself to be in a state of love and contentment, will you stop trying to achieve, or will you stop trying to do something that you weren't meant to do? And you have to face that. Let the group light get a little brighter here. Does anyone have a comment they'd like to make or a question?
It wasn't until, this is Cindy, that the light came in that my nervous system settled down.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty eye-opening.
I know that about myself too. So that, you know how I talk about we need the higher frequency energies very often?
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Well, I think you might be talking about what I was going to comment on. When we first came in, and I just want to say I actually have never heard you say the 2 feet, 2 knees, 2 hips, and that was really powerful for me. It just happened so fast. But when I came in, the vibration was intense. And, my whole body was vibrating. And when the light came in, that calmed.
Mm-hmm.
So is that indicative of my nervous system just being really, I don't know, I'm not sure how to
finely attuned. So we need these high frequency energies. I need it. You need it. Cindy needs it. So how do I do that? That's what I get from grounding. That's what I get from Mother Earth. And then that's what I get from Father Sky. I need both for my nervous system to calm down and to come into a truly beautiful harmony with myself.
So the vibration that I was feeling, the tingling in my hands and my legs and my feet, was a nervous system that wasn't calmed down.
It was on its way because you could notice it.
Yeah.
So at first, we were identifying what our nervous system feels like. And then we were starting to soothe it. And we go through kind of a cleansing and a release and a quieting down process. We tend to want to skip over that process. And so I'm trying to back us up into appreciating that this part of the process and how important it is. There is a point when your nervous system calms down enough that you actually begin to expand and get lighter and lighter.
And that's what I experienced last week when we were in that bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
It was profound. And so what I first experienced tonight was not that. But it was once you said, can you feel the light coming in? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't feel that until you said it. But once you said it, I just opened. And and then it felt like it did last week.
Mm-hmm. So this is practice. So it took me a long time to just attend to my own, I consider this self-care now. If I'm all jumbled and nutty, then I stop and find my place of comfort. But one of the things, why I'm bringing this up, is we don't often believe that we deserve that place. And we have a hard time getting the nervous system to calm down. Now, this will take you on a journey, each one of you. Because once you start looking at this as calming your nervous system down, it's very interesting how it expands into all the different areas of your life, whether it's what you eat or how many things you do in a day, how many people you interact with or don't interact with, whether you decide, I don't have to go to the grocery store, I can stay home. It's all of a sudden you start becoming aware of what works for your nervous system. Do you like to do artwork? Do you like to exercise? Do you have certain hobbies that you like, that you enjoy? And you deserve to enjoy them. So it's about exploring for yourself. what will soothe you, what's enjoyable within your bubble, within your field. And when you're quiet, sensing how you start connecting with the light, with your heart, in very gentle, kind ways. And we want to get to the point where the kind, gentle, loving voice shows up a lot. So the grounding is what nourishes me with the earth energies and the sky energies, and that helps settle my nervous system down and makes me feel at home and safe. You may have other ways, whether it's dancing or moving or whatever, but you need to find what works for you. But I would like you to explore this week this returning to yourself as often as you can, and seeing what insights come to you as you're in that place, how it helps you feel more connected to yourself, and what's frightening for you, what's scaring you, and explore that. Okay, so we've come to the end of the class. Is everyone clear about what to work with this week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week will be another important week, and you're each on your own journey with this. And everything you learn is important for you. And I have a new motto, which is, don't ask why, ask what's next. So don't let the why stop you. Let the what's next help you keep moving forward and opening up to yourself. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. I have a funny echo going on the phone. Does everyone hear it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least we stayed on the line the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so God bless and have a beautiful week and a beautiful night.